All right, welcome in everybody. You're listening to the 5G Live podcast with Brian Castillo and Eric Coronado. And this week we're going to be talking about guilty pleasures. So, what you want to kick us off, Eric? What do you got for us?
I figured I'll let you start because I don't want to dive right into the deep end and take everybody down with me.
Oh yeah, okay. We want to start off a little like, okay. No, so before Doctor Pimple Popper was a thing, the real popular doctor that was on YouTube, like you had all the home videos of these crazy ass like pimple popping and like cyst video. Like I don't know, man, I can't turn away. And I am squeamish. Like I hate needles and I hate blood and cuts and things like that. And when I have to give blood, like I don't look, like I can't look at it. But pimple popping, man, like when it's like a giant, like alien looking egg cyst on someone's forehead or something like that.
Do you watch in between your fingers, or can you watch the entire? You know what I mean?
No.
Is it one of the? Because I do that sometimes, or I kind of put the sheets over my head. I'm like, oh fuck, like I can't watch this, but I still watch it.
Yeah, I'm not really doing like the scary movie thing where you're like kind of looking, maybe one eye closed, but I am like I'm all in on it, man. And it's like that anticipation, like it's coming. I haven't been able to find it in a long time on YouTube, but it was one where it didn't like look that bad, but they were doing it at home, and they were like using the X-Acto knife, and it was a cyst on this guy's back.
Shit.
But he was a fairly pudgy gentleman, and so you really couldn't see like the hump of the pimple, but you saw like the whitehead. Like honestly, it looked like the size of a dime. Like it was, you knew this was going to be a good one, and just like the build up. They're wearing gloves, and I think what made it really funny is that like it just projectiles and explodes, and the smell must be terrible because like the woman who's like doing it for him and the one filming, like they start gagging and like coughing, and it's like so gross, and like it's like a tube of toothpaste, man. It just kept coming out and coming out. Yeah, I that is definitely a weird guilty pleasure. I know I'm not alone.
Dude, my mom is like that to where she'll watch like the operating videos on like the TLC channel, which I'm like genuinely interested in like the medicine as to like what's going on, but like sometimes I'm like, what the fuck?
See, but I can't do that. Like where they have someone's chest like open and they got the camera like right there.
Yeah, how is that on the? I mean, I get why it's on there, but it's like it is so wild that there's like TV shows that cover that. Which I think Dr. Pimple Popper has her own show now, right? She's no longer just
she does
exclusively on YouTube.
She does, yeah, and like and I hate the clickbaiting with the pimple popping videos now, man. Like they used to be legit. Now it'll be like, oh, pimple pop 2020, and then it's just like very surgical and methodical, like removal of a cyst. Well, I don't see that shit. Like I want to see like the rednecks in their backyards, like poking that thing with a Phillips screwdriver, man, like popping that.
I think some of the kind of related to those that I've gone down the rabbit hole before is the what is it, the bot flies? You know what those are?
No, you have
so the bot flies is kind of like in more like jungle areas. So the fly lays an egg on somebody, typically not humans, but sometimes it happens on humans.
On them?
Yeah, and so the larva starts to eat into the skin, and so you have like this maggot like with a little bitty hole out so it can breathe. And so there's videos of like people pulling these things out with like fucking tweezers, and that's one of those where you're like kind of looking between your fingers, like and they're kind of rough to watch, but like I think I saw one the other day and I was like, oh, and I just like kind of kept going and kind of kept going. Yeah. And yeah, like people were just like pulling these things out of them. So it's usually when they go to like kind of like jungle areas, which I don't ever want to go. I mean, I kind of want to go to the Amazon, but I'm kind of scared of the bugs, and that's probably why.
Well, that makes me think of another guilty pleasure of mine that was kind of like right after college when I first started working and living by myself. River monsters, man. Like I could binge watch the shit out of some river
shitty shows.
Oh well, dude, River Monsters is not a shit. Do you know?
I've seen the premise of it.
Yeah, dude, that guy's pulling out some wild fish. Like, and he's all in. He's hardcore. Like, he's been seriously injured doing that shit. Like, one of those giant ass fish that they were wrangling in. I think it was like a pike species. basically harpooned him in the chest, and he had like some complications. He had to have surgery. Yeah,
I've never seen this episode.
Yeah, like it doesn't break the skin barrier or anything, but it did some internal damage. He was actually internally bleeding. And yeah, he was all about the catch, man. But I just think, that kind of stuff, where there's a bit of mystery into it, and like, these kind of like almost like folklore, right? With that stuff. That's definitely
Like the big ass. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I mean, you were talking about, well, I said garbage TV, but.
Well, garbage TV is one of your guilty.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was going to get into. It's like the.
Okay. So explain what you consider garbage TV to people.
So one of my fascinations is people watching.
Okay.
And people have put this on the TLC channel. I have no idea why it's the Learning Channel stuff, but like my 400-pound life, fucking Hoarders, Intervention, like all that garbage TV of people doing like weird shit. Like I just get sucked into it.
Oh yeah.
So I don't have cable here, so anytime I go home, like my brother's got like satellite and all that other crazy crap. So I can binge watch the shit out of my 400-pound life. The Dr. Z is like some little bitty doctor. He's like 5'1" on there, like telling people that he says the same shit every time, but it's like I like celebrate him. He's like, was it low carb diet, high protein? So it's usually you just have people fucking eating chicken. And he keeps them at like 1,500 calories a day. But yeah, like trying to watch these people like lose all this weight.
So is that what in my 400-pound life they're actually trying to lose the weight? Is that?
Yeah, man. So kind of sad face stuff is like some of these people are like traumatized and they're like completely big, but some of them, they ate too much and haven't been able to control themselves.
Right.
So it's like it's more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they have to do it type of deal.
Sure.
Like they have to eat it's more like a tick. They're not really hungry. But yeah, dude, I love garbage TV. So my 400-pound life, I watched the crap out of that. Back when I was in the Navy, so we used to do with my roommates, we would call it family TV time, where we would watch Hoarders and Intervention because they were usually back to back. Like we would shut everything down in the house. Like no matter where people were, it was like 6 o'clock rolled around. I think it was closer to 7. And people would just gather around the couch and we would watch. It was Hoarders and then Intervention, and then that's where I think I told you guys where like I kind of had a bit of a drinking problem. But that's how we would psych ourselves that we didn't have a drinking problem. Like watching Intervention, it was like, dude,
and you were drinking together.
So. Yeah, it was like we don't down a bottle of Malibu in the morning to go to work. Like like I don't think I have a problem. But yeah, so Intervention. I think my favorite episode, super guilty pleasure, was it was a dude who was a professional cyclist.
Okay.
And so the family was trying to get him clean. He was smoking fucking rocks. And he was such a G on one of the scenes. Like the mom like only wanted him over at the house when he wasn't high. And so I was like, have you been smoking? And it's like, are you in the house? Like, and he's like, I'm high right now. Like, just like totally admitted to it. And yeah, so he would panhandle for money and then just smoke a bunch of drugs. But like his whole backstory was that. So he was a professional cycler, and I'm going to say he snitched on Lance Armstrong, but I think everyone knew he was kind of doing it. And this is back when he was like crushing people.
Well, people forget though, at the time, it's just like the whole steroid thing in baseball. Like if everyone's doing it, then that's like the pre-wet wreck, man. Like it's you have to have an even playing field. If all the pitchers were doing steroids, screw it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was when baseball was good with their ratings and stuff.
Right? Yeah, so he was a cyclist and he ratted on him, and so Armstrong just like crushed him like legally and fucking broke this dude. So he was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna start smoking rocks." So that was a big high and a big low. But the episode ended pretty good because at the very end of it, he was back like on the semi-pro team after like living on the streets for a few years. Like, oh,
Yeah.
motherfucker still got it.
Well, that guy should have thanked Lance Armstrong because really, who gave a fuck about the Tour de France beforehand? Like, seriously, like on
Yeah.
a global scale, it did not become a thing. Until
Everybody
he
loves
was-
winners, man. Yeah, and he was just crushing it.
And then when you're doing it on one testicle too, like it was a hero story.
that made
at
it
the
more
time.
aerodynamic. Everyone, that's just science. I have engineering to back this up. I have a master's degree that proves this. Trust me, it's all about aerodynamics.
You got the official stamp from there. Well, so that I'm with you with garbage TV with your examples there. But like when I think of garbage, trashy TV, I'm thinking like reality TV, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Jersey Shore, and I hate all that.
No,
shit.
but that's fake though. I love the real.
But it's trashy still.
But it's not real. It's fake.
Or The Bachelor.
Yeah, that's all
Justine
fake.
loves The Bachelor. I can't stand this stuff.
Yeah, that can't be that bad. I think I had a friend going through college, and she was caught up on all the episodes of is it Survivor or Survival? It's like where you're on the island and you vote people off.
Survivor,
Yeah.
That's been going on forever.
I didn't know that was still a fucking thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
So when she told me this, I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I looked it up, and they were like on like season like 27 or something. And I'm like, "You've seen all these?" And she's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Ooh."
Yeah. I think garbage TV, though, I think everyone has a few shows that most people would agree are garbage TV. Like, that's definitely a guilty pleasure. Like, actually, it's funny that I wouldn't necessarily call this garbage TV because they were icons, still are icons. But one of the things Justine wouldn't admit to me for a long time, and I'm sorry, I know I'm revealing your secret, babe, to the world, but she loves the Golden Girls. Like she has the whole DVD set. That was her morning routine. Like she throws them on in the morning while she gets ready. Before the pandemic, the week before this happened in March, we went to a local spot called the Salt Yard. They had Geeks Who Drink on a Wednesday night. They had a Golden Girls trivia.
She just fucking
My
smashed
wife
everybody.
was pissed that she missed 2 questions in 10 rounds. 2 questions, and to this day, she still talks about one of them, how it was a technicality and it was the way they asked the question. Like she was super mad at herself.
How many times do you think she's seen it?
Oh man!
Well, how many seasons are there?
I believe there's 7.
Okay.
She'll probably get mad at me if that's wrong, but I know there's at least 6.
Okay.
And those women were funny as hell. There's some funny ass episodes in that. I actually used to watch it growing up with my grandma when my grandma was watching this and stuff. When it would be on like Nick at Night or Lifetime, whatever. But that's definitely my wife's guilty pleasure. She loves the Golden Girls, man. And
I got to look it up real quick because it sounds familiar, and I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure if my memory of the women is correct in my head. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I think it was like ran through the mid and late 80s into the early 90s, and the premise of the show was basically. 2 of the women were widowed, and one of their mom, they had put her in like a nursing home. So they end up basically becoming roommates together in Miami.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like about their lives post children and their husbands and stuff because all their husbands have passed on or they've gotten divorced or whatever. Yeah.
Your wife would be happy. There is 7 seasons.
Boom.
Got
it. I passed the test. No, but I'm just saying that I think everyone has like a show or two. Like I was talking about pimple popping videos, but everyone has that show or two that it's like, well, you may not know about me watching this one for a while, So, but that's a good one. I would definitely consider that a guilty pleasure.
I just remembered another one of my favorite episodes of Intervention.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
So again, this is when I knew I wasn't an addict. So there was allegedly, yeah. So this woman, she's living with her parents, and she loses like one of her bags of heroin on the top shelf, and she's blaming it on her mom. And she's like looking for it, she can't really find it. And then as the mom is walking away, because she made the mom come into the room to confront her about like this is where it was, like did you grab it? And it was like no. And as the mom is walking away, like the girl like proceeds to strip her mom looking for drugs, I was like, what the fuck?
Just right there.
Just right there. And it was like, I was like, I don't think I've ever stripped my mom looking for drugs before. I was like, I don't think I'm an addict.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that was fucking wild. And but again, I know that was a little dark, but at the end of the episode, she was clean. She was clean for a while. It was like light at the end of the tunnel, so it was good. Like usually my favorite ones have a happy ending.
Yeah. Well, you know what I would consider garbage TV these days? CNN, Fox News, you name it, man. Any of these quote unquote news outlets. And I can tell you one thing that this whole Rona thing has made me. I am a conspiracy theory junkie, man. I don't believe in all of them, but I'm willing to listen more now with some of the crazy ones that are, So conspiracy theories, absolutely one of my guilty pleasures. I don't know if you share that same trait.
Yeah, no, of course, man. I mean, one of my favorite people is Alex Jones, man. Like he's got. I know people hate on him because he says all kinds of wild shit, but like his problem is he's just got too much information in his head, and he tries to get it all out at once.
Well, you're always telling me what he needs, like a mediator, like a translator.
If he's looking, I can put up my resume on LinkedIn if he wants to hire me. Because I think I feel like I'm a great mediator to him because he says some wild shit. And then it's like, oh, like I see what he's saying. Like he just wants people to do this. It's like, it's not calling Nancy Pelosi an actual vampire. It's like he just thinks that she's siphoning away resources and stealing from the government. It kind of makes sense. He's at about like an 11 on the 10 scale, and I think I can bring it down to like a 4, which is more palatable to people. But yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Well, like with any conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorist in particular, like. About what percentage of the shit that he says would you say that you agree with, or at least it makes you raise an eyebrow where you're like, well, there might be some truth to this.
So that's a good question because usually, as he's like again, I think he has too much information in his head, and as he's talking about shit. But if you pick out like little things that he's talking about and Google it off to the side, there is. Like this shit is based on truth, like somewhere you're like, like there is a fucking pedophile ring going on right now. It's like, hey, like these government officials are doing all these crazy psyops. Fucking 5G towers, like they're using cell phones to track us. Like, yo, he's been saying that shit for fucking 30 years. Like, hey man, like the dude is he's ahead of the game a little bit. Okay. I think people give him a bad rap. Because I know he talks about politics a lot, which like kind of like puts people off, and like he's just too over the top. But the way that I see Alex Jones is he's the professional wrestling of politics.
All right, well,
does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, but if you were, and that's been around forever. I mean, comedians do it really well when they talk about politics. But like, what's probably the craziest thing that you've actually completely agreed with that he said, if you're willing to share? Like what or a topic that you agree on? What's one of the things that you agree with?
Well, I know he got this one. Well, there's a few of them. Because he was bitching about Epstein being a pedophile. Like, he's like, I've been saying this shit for 25 years. Like, he really has been saying it for like 20
so there's like records.
Yeah, you can go back and look at some of his videos. Now, it's like
that guy's such a shitbag.
This is one of those where it's like people was like, well, like a broken clock is right twice a day. It's like, like I don't know. Like that's like a pretty specific thing to be calling somebody, and then it turns out to be true.
Especially a pretty powerful, rich
it's like hooked up. And so that was one of them, and then the other one. Which is a little more recent. It has to do with like the whole COVID and the trackers with the cell phones. I forget what they call it. What is it? Contact tracing?
Contact tracing.
Yeah. So contact tracing. So he was complaining about, it's like, hey man, like the government's they're gonna track your phones. It's like, I get that they're only saying it that it's for health reasons, just to track to see if corona's spreading. But he was like, just wait, like they're going to use this thing for anything. And then sure enough, they started using it for like all the riots and shit that were happening. So they were able to use the programming for the contact tracing to figure out if you were in the riots or not. So that's how some of these people were getting arrested, which fucking blew my mind. And so, he sounds like a crazy person. But again, it's because he's dishing out information at an 11 and like, I can tune it down to like, look, he's just saying... maybe it's not smart to give the government all this information.
Well, and especially with like this pandemic, man. I mean, uh, hell, everyone sounds like a crazy person, depending on what side of the fence you land on. I mean, it is pretty wild when you think. I mean, you have the conspiracy theory stuff with the guy who started this eating some fucking bat soup in Wuhan, China, and then you got that. It comes out that there's basically the equivalent of the Center for Disease Control laboratory, like right down the street from the fish market where it supposedly originated.
Yeah, Alex Jones also called that one out. I'm just letting you know he's ahead of the game.
And I'm strictly just I'm listing conspiracy theories here. I'm not taking a position. We can get into that if you want, but I'm just I'm throwing out things that have come up.
Yeah.
And then you got the whole like you said, cell phone tracking. You got the rush for vaccine to start a new world order where there's going to be microchips in every individual that you can't trace and that they're in the vaccine. And you got the lizard people resurfacing in the election year here. I mean, it's crazy.
No, man, I think we've joked about it before where it's like the conspiracy theorists have become the modern day philosophers. Because they're saying some wild shit, and you're like, okay, like I don't believe you fully, but it's like, let me look into it. # look into it. So you have like Alex Jones, Sam Tripoli's the other one. I like listening to his stuff. He's got the Tinfoil Hat podcast.
Oh, okay.
If you ever just want to like veg out a little bit and listen to like some wild shit that people talk about. Yeah. And again, it's not that I believe all this stuff. I kind of look at it as professional wrestling.
Sure.
It's just entertainment. But every once in a while, they say some spicy stuff, and you're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And they present a little bit of evidence. And they're not telling you that what they're saying is correct. They're just saying, look into it. Which then you happen to do yourself. And you're like, oh, shit, like, they're fucking right. Like,
Well, there's so much distrust anyway with everything really associated with 2020, but then you look at how so many things have been kind of brushed over or swept under the rug. Like you look at that mass explosion that took place. I can't remember where overseas in the Middle East.
In Beirut?
Yeah,
I think it's Beirut.
I believe it was Beirut. It was a story for like a day because of everything that's gone. But there happened to be like 3 or 4 other explosions that took place in other places around the world at that same day. Like that's kind of coincidental. That's weird. And then you have is Kim Jong-un dead? Is he alive?
You think he's dead?
Is he in a dude, I told you he was dead the first time, man. You haven't seen that dude. That dude loved the limelight. You haven't seen him since the first time they claimed he was dead when he supposedly faked his death.
Yeah, I'm starting to think the same. I think he might be dead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I hear the sister is crazy.
Is she?
Or is it the sister or the cousin?
Yeah, so the sister's supposed to take over. I mean, she's got a little bit of the wild eyes going. Like, you like look at her, you're like, this bitch might be crazy.
Yeah.
So but I don't want to judge a book by the cover. Like maybe talking about the North Korean leader. We'll see. But yeah, I look at her face and I'm like, she might be ruthless. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see how that turns out.
Well, you just think of that, and you got just in our own backyard. I mean, all of the civil justice that has turned into like crazy rioting, the conspiracy theory that it's all just about not getting President Trump reelected, and man, there's just conspiracy theories galore. So if you're into conspiracy theories, which I get wrapped up in them, like. Hardly do I ever come to the conclusion like, okay, this is true, but they're still fun. That's like my garbage TV, but it's with current events in real life, man.
Yeah, no, I love part of the guilty pleasure part. Like I like to say some wild shit sometimes, like talk about like lizard people in terms of like, people are like always like real political nowadays. So I'm like, oh, like that's a fucking lizard person. Everybody knows that. Like just to see people like fucking shuffle in their chairs, and I was like, obviously, I'm messing with them. But I don't know, man. Maybe lizard people are real.
Well, I think that's what's kind of cool about conspiracy theories is like I think everyone in part like there's a little piece of everybody when you hear conspiracy theories. Like you want it to be true.
Just want to believe.
Like, oh, dude, like national treasure. Like I want all that shit to be true. Like the Illuminati and the forefathers, and like the Knights of the Old Republic or whatever the heck, like the guild they were in, or the Freemasons. Sorry, because that's actually a real.
Well, no, that's a real society, right?
But those societies, there's some crazy stuff associated with them too. I mean, they have different branches that have branched off through kind of where the religion branches have branched off too.
Okay.
Because there's a branch of it that is associated with religion, but like there's these guilds and things of like men that, or you could trace back to that tradition for a long time, and they believe some wild stuff too. Like we could talk about that for a whole episode, but then I think just it was the perfect storm, right? You have this, I say this term loosely, but global pandemic going on where we're really unknown. I mean, this is the strangest year of my 29 years on this planet.
I know this happened kind of recently, but it feels like it happened a while ago. Remember when we were watching all these fucking wild videos coming out of China when the coronavirus started? Like they were throwing people into fucking freezers and
calling them training videos.
Yeah, and there's like fucking people passing out on the street, and it's like, holy shit! Like, what the fuck's happening over there?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I mean, China does what China does. They probably are fucking hounds, but yeah, that was a little scary initially. Like but it seems we know a little bit better. We know who's like actually affected now. But yeah, I remember watching a lot of those videos, and we were like passing them around to each other. It's like, dude, like. Are people really just fucking dropping in the street? Like, this is wild.
Well, and I think that's where, I mean, the unknown associated with this virus, because again, not to mislead anybody, I agree and recognize that it is a real virus that we don't know anything about.
It is killing people. It's serious. We're not downplaying.
I'm not denouncing all that, but like when you hear pandemic, like. I'm thinking like really, I mean, people were throwing out the words like apocalypse and quarantine. Like I'm thinking like 28 days later and shit, man. Like, do I need to get a sniper rifle for my roof? Like what, and then, as always, like as my dad used to tell me when I was younger, and if I was like scared at night after watching a scary movie or something, he was like, no, the real monsters, son, are people. And I'm like, you're seeing that play out before your eyes, man. Like, I mean, again, regardless of political affiliation, social justice, anything like that, like shit is getting burned down. People are getting beat the fuck up. Like people are getting shot. Like really weird, strange, scary times, man.
Yeah,
it is different.
Yeah, I remember when. Well, shit. How long have the riots been happening now? What are we on? Like 2 months? 3?
Well, no. What George Floyd, I believe, happened back in June.
Okay.
Maybe a little.
Because
it was tail end of May, early June.
I remember staying up and watching like some of those fucking riot videos. Like things were like popping off, and I was like, oh, man, like this is like. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I know we had a little bit happen down here in Albuquerque. Thankfully, it hasn't been too crazy. But yeah, I think I relate to you guys. I have a few friends that live over in like Seattle and LA, and like they got caught up in that shit, and like, dude, like things were popping off, and again, one of our G's being guns. I'm just, if you haven't got one yet, I'm just throwing that out there. It's another one of my guilty pleasures.
There's
some money at the guns.
There's your public service announcement. Go get a gun.
And get trained. Just don't be,
Yeah, go listen to our guns podcast, and you can get some tips on being a first-time gun owner in the pandemic. But no, man. I mean, what conspiracy theory associated with the year 2020 and coronavirus have we left out? What are we leaving out
for 2020? I mean, did we talk about World War III yet? I mean, dude, 2020 has been interesting. I mean, with the whole deal with Iran, and they killed that one dude. What was his name? I can't remember. I remember him having like a white goatee, and they fucking bombed his ass.
Yes.
Yeah. So then World War III was going to start.
Well, and then you had India and China having beef over their border, and that really didn't get a story. And then it was like, oh shit. And then what China's doing to Hong Kong, they've taken.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
mainland China, I should say, the Communist Party, but. Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. There's just so much going on that you could just start to come up with some wild theories. Like, before Kevin Spacey decided to be a shitbag, ruin House of Cards because of his personal behavior. That was a damn good show. And if you like conspiracy theories, it's like, oh man, that's what's actually happening in the government. Like these backwards killings and people being bought off. And
I still haven't watched it, man. I tried.
You've never seen House of Cards?
No, I watched the first couple episodes of that, and I didn't like the guy. What is it called? Breaking the third wall or fourth wall? What's it called? Whenever the dude talks to you through the TV.
Oh, yes. You didn't like the main character, Frank Underwood.
Yeah, it's fine, but for whatever reason, when Katie Spacey was doing it, it came off as pretentious, and I'm like, I don't fucking like you. Fucking act and do your thing. Like, I'm watching the show here.
Well, he becomes such a captivating character because you hate him after some of the actions that he's doing, but you're like, oh, this guy's like good. He's getting away with it. It's kind of like it had a limited timeline, like Breaking Bad as well, because like something has to, the chickens have to come to roost or whatever the phrase is at some point because he was getting away with so much crap to gain power and become president. But
okay,
but like. His wife becomes like a badass in that show. It's very.
She ride or die.
Oh yeah.
Still looking for that? She's ride or die.
Absolutely ride or die. But no, that was that's what got me down the political conspiracy theory path, man. Because that had come out at the tail end of my undergrad, and like you just you see people get killed and they're making like these deals with the House and how they swing people to get them to vote a certain way, and you're just like, this is going on. Like maybe it is lizard people running the show. I don't know.
How deep have you gotten into the Kennedy assassination?
Well, so actually I've been to Dallas a few times. I've done the whole tour thing.
Okay. How many shooters do you think there were?
I think there were at least 3.
At least 3? Okay,
Yeah.
I was saying at least 2, and there's some other weird shit that
I've heard 5 before. I think 3 though.
Have you ever heard? I think we've talked about the homeless people, like that were connected to the mob that they arrested. So
in the case of Kennedy?
Yeah, the case of Kennedy.
I haven't heard.
Somebody had brought. It's been a while since I looked into it, but dude, like, talk about. There's so many fucking levels to that story. So part of it is so they arrested. I think it was like either 4 or 5 dudes that were dressed like homeless people. But it turns out, I think 1 or 2 of them were like hitmen for some of the fucking mob, out in New York. Yeah, it's like some real shit. So the first time I heard this, I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, I never heard this.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was like it was like a real thing. And I was like, dude, like there's so much information out there. There's just too much information, not enough time. Some of these, and that was during the era where dude, can you imagine living back in the 70s and 80s where cameras weren't everywhere? You could get away with murder and well, fuck it, we're good to go.
Literally.
Yeah, people got away. You can't do that shit anymore. There's cameras everywhere.
It's amazing Nixon was caught with the Watergate thing,
Yeah.
Given the time.
Yeah. So, that's just, I kind of think about that. Living in those times, pre-cell phone,
well, that's an interesting. So you're 33, I'm 29. I know they had the big brick cell phones when we were real little in the 90s and stuff, but I remember the real revolution, at least when I was kind of more aware and a preteen or whatever, was the Motorola Razr, man. That was the
thin one. Yeah,
it was the start of the no more flip phone, but it was one, but it was real sleek.
Yeah.
And so, but that. You're right. You've literally got a computer in your pocket now.
That's it's one of the reasons. Back to the mob stuff. I think they contribute that as one of the main factors as to why the mob and all that stuff kind of dissipated, was because now there's just fucking cameras everywhere. There's microphones everywhere.
Yeah.
So the whole secretive, the whole secretive of everything kind of went away. Because I'm sure you've seen The Godfather, right?
Yes.
Because I remember watching the first one. Remember whenever they capped The Godfather and he's in the hospital, and so all the guardsmen are around the hospital protecting him, and then the cops come in and shoot everybody, and then is it Al Pacino?
Yeah.
Al Pacino shows up and like there's no one there guarding them, so he like pretends to be a guard. Because I remember watching that scene, I was like, I was like this scenario would have never happened. Like, okay, so they arrest all your goons. It's like just make a fucking phone call, like get more people there. But it's like, this is pre cell phone. It's like where the communication lines weren't what they used to be. But I just thought that was funny. It's like, man, like it's like I remember watching that scene. It's like probably the younger generation doesn't understand what happened here. Because they weren't pre cell phones.
Well, moving off of conspiracies a little bit, like I would argue that most people, whether they recognize it or not, your cell phone's a guilty pleasure, man. Like if you ever look at, I actually disgust myself sometimes when I look at how much time I spend
usage.
on it, the usage and how it's broken down. Like, I mean, we're just all so connected now, and shit's happening all the time. Like you were talking about our little group thread on Instagram, and like
we just send each other garbage.
Well, you just send each other trash. Garbage. It's fun. It's captivating. That's how you socialize with your buddies now, and like. But even news that's comes in, I get most of my news from social media, which is scary with the censorship stuff that's going on.
Yeah, what if you're not following the Bee yet on Instagram? Follow the Bee. Like they are
the Babylon.
The Babylon Bee. That's right. Yeah, we call it the Bee. Dude, they got some of the funniest shit on there. That is definitely a guilty pleasure of mine. Yeah, some of them get like a lot of them are on the politics side, and I love sending them out to like a few of my Bernie bro friends back home, and it just like fucking riles them up.
But they make fun of the other side too. That's why I like.
They make fun of everybody. Yeah. Like their shit is fucking hilarious. Yeah. But yeah.
So what's another guilty pleasure you got here? What do you want to talk about today? What's one of your guilty pleasures?
What do we? Trash movies.
Okay, so you talk about garbage TV. We kind of put descriptors around that. Yeah. Yours was more of the real life shit show,
like
reality
real,
TV.
Real
Mine
shit.
was more like the fake bullshit reality TV. That's what I kind of. So define a trashy movie for me.
Well, it's not even trash. I wouldn't even. Trashy is probably the wrong descriptor for the wrong adjective. It's kind of like one of those movies that people find dumb and like, but I just love. I guess like cult classics,
like Napoleon Dynamite.
Actually, speaking of Napoleon Dynamite, I saw Napoleon Dynamite pretty close to like a year before it came out.
What?
Yeah. So we went to like a special screening of it, and we were quoting the shit out of that all year. And people were looking at us like we were fucking idiots. And then it like finally came out. It was like, like, eat your food, Tina. Ugh. It's
fat
like,
lard.
Yeah, fat lard. Yeah. Yo, let me get some of those tarts. And, it's got like a pocket full of fucking tater tarts.
Well, for Pedro.
Yeah. He offers his protection.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I saw that like way early. People didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But it's like a guilty pleasure would be in terms of the style of movie. Have you seen Hot Rod?
No.
So I love describing Hot Rod to people for the first time.
Is that a Will Ferrell movie?
No, it's the I forget the dude's name. He's in SNL. He's like
Seth Meyers?
No, not Seth Meyers. I mean, look him up real quick. Yeah, if you want.
I'll look.
Yeah. So while I describe it.
Yeah.
So the premise of the movie is he is a professional. Quote in quotation marks, he's a professional stuntman, and so his father has some sort of heart problem, and he decides to do a big jump in order to raise money for his heart transplant. And it's not that he wants to save his stepdad's life, but the only reason he's doing it is because he wants to beat him up in a fist fight so he can earn his respect as a man. So
that's the plot.
The plot is, yes, he's going to do a big jump so he can get his stepdad a heart transplant so he can beat him up and earn his respect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg.
Lonely Island Boys. Yeah. I should have known that. So go ahead.
So the whole premise of that movie is just fucking wild. And like, so I tell people this and they just kind of like look at me like I'm fucking crazy. And it's like, dude, just watch it. It's fucking hysterical. It's very quotable. One of my favorite scenes that I love doing. So he like there's like the hot girl next door, and like he like fucking flashes a laser in her eye to get her attention. So she like comes over, and he's pretending to be a mechanic in the garage. So he's got like a motor sitting on the block there, and he's just like hitting it with a fucking hammer. He's like, "Oh hey, what's up, girl?" Like
Oh
just
wow.
super cheesy shit. Yeah, but it's one of my favorite movies. I love Hot Rod.
See, so when you say trashy movie, like one that it doesn't necessarily come to mind right away, but I haven't seen any of these. I lasted about 3 minutes into the first one, but Sharknado, man, that is fucking trash. Those
That's
movies are
too
trash.
much.
The and you know one that was terrible too, The Meg. Have you seen The Meg?
What the hell's the
Oh, dude. So that's the Jason Statham movie that came out, I think, a year or two ago, and it's got all these like cameos of people. It's got like Dwight from The Office, the guy who plays Dwight, and basically they have, okay, of course, the shark movie story, right? You got this science research center, and then they open up a void in the crevice of the ocean, and
You get the super
now,
shark.
yeah, the super sharks now can pass through the cloud, and it's just outlandish, man. Yeah, at least like shark movies back in the day, like Jaws and Deep Blue Sea, like at least the
At
first one,
least
like
there was a plot.
those are good ones. At least when LL Cool J was cool, but yeah, those come to mind. I don't know. There's probably some cringeworthy rom coms, but actually, growing up with two sisters. And when Blockbuster and Hollywood Video and stuff were a thing, we had a rule in our house where we do like that family night on Fridays or whatever. So my dad and I would get to pick a movie, and my sisters and my mom would get to pick a movie. And the rules were we all had to watch them both together as a family.
Okay.
So like we'd like make homemade pizza at home, do popcorn, do like the air mattress thing in the living room, everyone together, whatever. Well, more often than not, especially as my sisters got older, so it was romantic comedies. And I have to say, man, I'll watch the shit out of a romantic comedy. Like that is definitely a guilty
No,
pleasure.
I'm not hating on that. So on the submarine, whenever you're off going off a watch,
Yeah.
a lot of the times they'll let you play movies. Sometimes they didn't. But our rule was we had the 5 minute veto rule, or no, the 10 minute veto. So you can watch a movie, and someone was allowed to veto it before 10 minutes. So
Can anyone?
yeah, anyone can do it. There's no hard feelings. Yeah, it was just one of those like, nope, like we're vetoing this shit. Like we're not gonna watch fucking Muppet Christmas or like just stupid, real stupid shit.
That's a good rule.
I only saw it. Was it be implemented probably less than a handful of times, and I can't remember off the top of my head which movies they were. I think Ultraviolet was one of them where like we started watching and we're like, this is gonna be dog shit. But yeah, so the rule was within the first 10 minutes you were allowed to veto it. There were no hard feelings, and we would change the movies. But so a lot of those rom coms, like they'll suck you in the first fucking 10 minutes. So you'd be surprised the amount of rom coms that I've seen. Like I'm okay with it.
Dude, the Ugly Truth might be my favorite one with Gerard Butler, but the Ugly Truth, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days,
Yeah, I've seen those.
The Wedding Planner with J Lo. I don't remember which one it is, but with Matthew McConaughey when he's like still at home when he's 30 years old, like that was I think Bradley Cooper's in that before he really got big. Like I dig those, man. They're funny, and I'm happy that I like those because my wife is super into scary movies and horror films and stuff. I'm not down, so
Yeah.
she has to watch those with someone else. So I'll watch the rom coms.
Have you ever seen About Time?
I don't think so. Which one's
That's
that?
one of my favorite. So this is I always joke about. So Rachel McAdams. So she's got two movies where she's dating a time traveling dude. Which I was like,
well, one of them's probably like more serious, right? Like the guy who wrote the Notebook or whatever.
There's one with
the Time Traveler's Wife. That's what it's called, right? Is that the one you're referring to? Because that one's a little more serious, like not so much of a comedy, right?
Let me look it up. So she's in Time Traveler's Wife, and then she's in the other movie About Time.
Okay.
And About Time is one of my favorite ones.
And it's a comedy. It's a rom.
It's a rom com. Okay. But the reason I like it is because talk about guilty pleasures like time travel shit. Like I geek out on stuff like just weird nerdy stuff like that. But in this movie, there's a lot of like philosophical questions you can ask about it. Like so, no spoilers here, but I'll give you a little bit as to what I'm talking about. So he meets this girl. She's the love of his life. But he goes back in time to help out a buddy, and so he doesn't get to meet her. But he's already met her in another timeline, so he knows all this shit about her. And so I'm thinking he's manipulating her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, I get you.
So there's a lot of like philosophical stuff to where it's like, well, like you got that information, like
yeah, that's ethical.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like the okay, yeah. So philosophy, ethical is the other word you could throw into it. But yeah, so like some people would argue that he got that information in goodwill and it's not manipulated. But I'm like, no, man, like this bitch knew everything about her and was just basically pulling her along to get her to fall in love with him for the second time. But I don't know. So I've told a few friends to watch it before, and it's like, hey, once you get done watching that, like, I got some questions for you.
That makes me think of 50 First Dates. That's another good one.
Oh, that is a
question if that's ethical as well, where he's trying to make him make her fall in love with him every day. But,
yeah, man. What happens if you change that video and you just like fucking completely like just brainwash her, man? That was, I don't know.
There you go. Question. You just wrote the sequel, right?
No, but yeah, About Time might be my favorite romantic. I won't even call it comedy, but it's just like I guess a little bit. There's a little bit of comedy in there, but again, it's just because it opens up the debate to the whole efficacy of what is happening.
Yeah, well, I know in our girls episode you talked a little bit about like a pre-date, right? So I feel like asking someone like, "What's one of your guilty pleasures?" I feel like that's a good icebreaker question. Like, if someone were to ask you that, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
For guilty pleasure?
Yeah, if I were just we just met each other, I'm just asking you, trying to get to know you. Like, what's one of your guilty pleasures, Eric?
I'm trying to think.
Because my mind, again, which is why it's one of our G's, grub. My mind goes to like food, like
that's kind of what popped into my head. Sometimes
right?
I like to be a fat boy and eat ice cream at odd hours of the night.
What's your go-to flavor?
Yeah, I am a big fan of. I like chocolate, man. But I go in and out of mood for chocolate.
Yeah,
I think I told you brownies would be my dessert. My favorite dessert. But like plain vanilla is like always like pretty good because you can just scoop that on other stuff. There's nothing wrong with vanilla bean, but Bluebell ice cream is the fucking best ice cream out there. I'm just throwing that out there.
Why Bluebell?
Because they're from Texas, man. I know this is how good it is. They how many people did they kill? I know they killed at least one person.
Whoa! What?
Yeah, did you not hear about this? This happened a few years ago where they almost went bankrupt.
Let's hear about this. I did not know this.
I don't remember too much of the details, but I know they had some sort of issues at the plant. And what's the disease that comes out of when you eat like bad like milk products? Keep talking. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
No, yeah. Well, I'm not too specific on like the dairy. I'm sure it has something to do with lactose, or are you talking about like spoiled milk products like coddling? But you mentioned vanilla ice cream. One of my old guilty pleasures with vanilla ice cream, man. You let it melt a little bit, and then you put your favorite cereal in it. You throw some cinnamon toast crunch in vanilla ice cream. That'll do you right. That's a cheap meal and a half. Don't do that very often anymore, but. Talk about a guilty pleasure with vanilla ice cream. So let's hear about how Bluebell killed people.
I'm looking it up right now. I know they had a huge recall. Bluebell Listeria outbreak killed 3 people.
Listeria. Okay.
2019. Bluebell agrees to $19 million fine over ice cream linked to 2015 Listeria. Okay, so this has happened several times.
No. So it's funny that you say that. So I worked in the food industry, right? And I worked at General Mills, and that was one of the things we had to swipe for: salmonella and listeria, because it's
I thought it was salmonella.
It's very dangerous, right? Because if you have an outbreak and then you have to trace it back to the source and you have to report these things. So our head of quality and quality engineering, our quality manager, he would send almost weekly, sometimes they occurred daily, emails about recalls in the country. And if people actually paid attention to all of them that take place with like these big name brands for the reasons that they do, people would probably like never fucking eat food again. Like there is some serious recalls that take place with some of these. And keep in mind, people, when a recall occurs, just I would have never known not working in the food industry. They try to trace it back to a lot, a very specific lot. That's why you do date codes and things like that on these products. And so what happens though is when you trace it back, you have to assume that everything slightly before within the guidelines and slightly after uh, could have been contaminated. So that's why you see these massive recalls take place when likely it wasn't on that massive a scale. Just
Yeah,
a
so
little nugget.
They recalled. This is the first article that popped up. They recalled 8 million gallons of ice cream after reports of listeria started coming in, and all 10 people fell ill. And it seems like they settled not too long ago for, what did I read? I think it was like 19 million
Oh yeah,
in settlements.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, people got. Damn, I should have fucking got that.
You love Bluebell ice cream.
Yeah, man, I should have got it. Dude, I'll settle for 10 people, 19 million. They're getting. It's a nice little chunk of change.
I'll tell you.
Wait, how bad is listeria? Am I gonna die?
You certainly have a high chance of dying.
Maybe not.
If you know, I mean,
I thought it was maybe I was just gonna like shit myself. And it's like I've done that before.
Well, it's like anything else. Hell, we'll talk about guilty pleasure with food. Like, dude, if there's some raw fucking cookie dough around me, I'm eating some. Like, I'm sorry, I am. Like,
is that bad for you?
Oh yeah, because there's raw egg in it. You gotta be careful with the raw egg.
That makes sense.
Even though bodybuilders back in the day would slam raw eggs, but yeah, I know they've joked about it on like Family Guy where they had the Cookie Monster like with a crack pipe, but it was like a tube of cookie dough in the bathroom. But dude, I could totally eat a cookie dough log like it was a churro if I knew.
Ugh,
like,
that's too much.
Well, and as you know, I'm not a big sweet tooth guy or anything like that, but I'm just saying like raw cookie dough is pretty awesome. That would definitely be a guilty pleasure of mine. But I'm not a big sweet tooth guy. But like I used to watch a lot of Food Network. I watch a little bit of it now, but now it's basically become all reality TV shows. They don't even really teach how to cook anymore, too. But they do like a guilty pleasure segment on guys' grocery games, which the premise of it is like they get these chefs and they do like crazy competitions where they have to get judged by it. So like they might have like a $10 budget in the grocery store and they got to make like a gourmet meal, but they often or they recycle it every now and then where it's like you got to create a guilty pleasure meal for like $20. And I know we talked about like our death row meal, but I try to eat pretty healthy, but usually when I think guilty, I'm thinking like deep fried. Like I don't my wife is super big fan of them, but we only do it at like the state fair once a year. But like deep fried Oreos, man,
oh,
so good.
I feel my heart slowing down.
Oh yeah, I've probably blocked a few arteries doing that.
Now I started thinking about the question you asked me if a woman asked me what some of my guilty pleasures would be.
Yeah, what would pop in your head?
Okay, so now that I thought about it a little more,
yeah.
So there's two things that popped in my head. One of them was for whatever reason I've started watching videos of people opening up old Pokemon cards, like the vintage,
what?
yeah,
like the holographic.
Yeah, they're looking for hollows in there, like they fucking geek out over it. I don't know what it is about it. So the guy describes it as like the guy that's opening up packages, like Lionheart's one of them, Loot Box TV's the other one.
Okay.
I can't believe I'm a nerd. I actually remember these.
That's all
but
right.
Anyway, so the guys are about my age, and they talk about like you get like the nostalgia of opening stuff up. I'm not gonna lie, like they open up a few packs and they get that fucking Charizard, and I'm like, woo, like fucking Charizard.
You were rooting for him.
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking rooting for him. So that's one of them, and then like the other one that popped into my head that's kind of super nerdy is I enjoy watching the StarCraft 2 players. Dude, those Koreans.
Oh, so like the PC game?
Yeah, the PC game. Okay. Dude, those Koreans are next level, man. Dude, they can fucking click away and control that mouse pad, like control the mouse and the keyboard like nobody's business. I think they're like they're like some of the top ranked players around the world come from South Korea.
Oh yeah.
And I know that sounds like super nerdy, but like a few of those world championship games, like they'll fucking fill up. Obviously not now, but they would fill up stadiums like fucking 30, 40,000 people in there, and like the top prizes will be multi-million-dollars. So it's like it's no joke.
Well, Fortnite, which I haven't played myself. I am a gamer, but before the pandemic thing happened, and the real popular guy Ninja or whatever,
Yeah.
the MLG guy, dude, they sold out the Falcon Dome, the Georgia Dome down in Atlanta for the World Championships of Fortnite. I think the winner took home like $3 million.
We're in the wrong business, bro. We gotta invent something.
I mean, I've loved video games from a young age, but I have never been that good at them. That's for sure.
Yeah, those dudes are next level. I forget the rating measure of how they like the clicks per minute or whatever. Yeah. So you have like your average person, and then like you have like your South Korean scale because these dudes are just they're like clicking away. I know they. I remember watching a video on it where they put like the tracer contact lens on the dude, so you can see as to where he was looking at in the screen as he was playing. So you were like basically you were able to tell what he was looking at where he was playing. Yeah. And dude, like that fucking screen, like he's like jumping all over the map with like hotkeys, and like you just see like it was just all over the place. Yeah. And he was able to control like it's a little backstory on StarCraft 2. So there's like 3 different races on there. You got your bugs, you got your humans, and you got like the future aliens. Yeah. And so there's like different little people that do different things, different abilities. So you kind of create your armies and you battle. Yeah. So it's like different styles of armies that are battling each other. So that's the whole premise of the StarCraft 2. But yeah, like these guys, it's like an actual like little battle happening. And just the way that they're able to control the computer, just like it's pretty ridiculous. I think it kind of reminds me of what's that movie? Ender's Game.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, where like the kids are playing the game, but they're actually fighting the battle. Yeah, if you were ever gonna have a war, like dude, like we're gonna go draft some South Koreans to be able to control these armies, man.
Well, good thing they're on our side as far as we know. There's not a conspiracy theory for you, but yeah. Would you consider gambling a guilty pleasure?
I think so. I've never been that big into it. Yeah. What about you?
Well, so luckily I'm cheap, so that's why it's never going to be like, But I do have the itch, man. I'll bet. I'm competitive. I'll bet people on anything. Back in the day, in high school and in college a little bit with the GameCube, we would play Super Smash Brothers for these, and we'd bet each other the stupidest shit. Like it got super competitive, like playing to the early morning. But we could definitely talk more about gambling because I do enjoy gambling in a few different.
Oh, that would be a good episode.
Absolutely,
just talk about gambling. Yeah, because I've definitely seen a few of my cousins and family members, like they'll start rolling dice and start doing like $20 rolls, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like this is too much money.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's why I say I'm glad I'm cheap because like when I go to Vegas and things like that, like I always set an amount that I'm willing to spend every day. Yeah. Like as far as towards gambling, and if I lose it, then I'm done. Yeah. Because I don't have that itch to win it back, man. That's where you get in trouble.
Yeah.
But no, guilty pleasures. That was fun, man. So we like to end every segment with something we like to call "Get Off My Lawn." And it's where we talk about something current event in the week that for 60 seconds you get to rant about and why you're telling people to get off your lawn.
I actually got a good one, and it kind of matches what we're talking about today in terms of, we kind of talked about it, conspiracy theories a little bit.
Well, why don't you kick us off, Eric? So, why are you telling the people to get off your lawn?
All right, so the get off my lawn for today is the social media censorship. Like, who the fuck is fact checking the fact check? I know that's the comment, like, who polices the police? But like, honestly, who polices the fucking fact checkers? Because the way that they are so-called quote unquote fact checking stuff is bullshit. So they take something and it's like, oh, like this certain event happened, and then they mark it as partly false. And they're like, oh, you didn't provide enough context. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter if they provided the context. Like that little statement that they said is true. So instead of saying, hey, this is partly false, how about you just say that could also be construed as this is partly true? But no, you want to fucking get in that false in there just to confuse people. But yeah, the fucking fact checkers don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That's so the get off my lawn would be, you fact checkers are full of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of scary with what is going on that you don't even see take place with censorship that we don't see behind the scenes.
Well, I mean, for people our generation, I tend to think that we get most of our news from. I mean, I don't do Facebook anymore, but
Sure.
I know there's a lot of people out there that look for Facebook.
Yeah.
So like Facebook stuff on Instagram, YouTube, and like fucking YouTube's got like those crazy algorithms where they're just cutting shit out. So I don't know. I think it's wrong. I think you should let people say whatever they want to say. If it's too crazy, I mean, obviously don't show like violent, crazy shit. But if you want to have Alex Jones up there fucking doing his WWE fucking politics and just like ranting about shit, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, CNN does that shit too. They fucking lie their faces off, and it just flies. But yeah. All right, that was probably a little over a minute, but I think that was a good one.
No, I think that's a good one too, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, but not even again her political party or anything, but Nancy Pelosi, get off my fucking lawn. Like, you know what? Don't be backtracking and say it was a setup with that salon or whatever, like that people are trying to set you up because you're in the limelight. Like, you are a person of power, you are in the spotlight. Hell, you're arguably the third most powerful person in the United States, being the Speaker of the House. Own up to it. Show a little bit of credibility for once. Quit being a hypocrite. Quit burning your city to the ground, literally, like you've been doing for years.
Stop letting people shit on the sidewalk.
Stop letting people shit on the streets unless you're going to let them shit on your front yard. Just get out of here with that crap. We all see through you. I know you have followers. I know you have supporters. That's fine. You are a respected member of our legislation. I get it. But come on. You've already taken this livelihood out of this woman's life, and now you're going to claim that they set you up. Like, get the fuck out of here. Get off my lawn, Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, one of the things I've heard kind of talk about that is like, just because you didn't know it was against the law doesn't make it okay. It's like, I didn't know fucking speeding was against the law. That never works. So just because the person told you is like, hey, you're allowed to have one person in there, doesn't necessarily mean it's true or that it's okay to do.
Well, I would just pose the question: what if that was you or I that had walked in there and got caught? That's all.
Yeah, we would probably get a ticket. Whatever. That's too much.
Again, thanks for listening. Sorry to rant there, getting political on you people, but thanks again, and catch us next week. See you later.
Later.